From the Red Wings to Michigan State, we're talking about it. This is State of My Sports.
Yeah, it is, and this is a good state of my sports because we got 7-0 versus 7-0.
It is thick this week.
Number 8 versus number 6. Number 6 is at number 8. Which Michigan State, why didn't you just put them at 7? What are you doing? Like, be smart, AP.
They just advertised that during the World Series.
Did they?
Yeah.
Man, this is wait. Oh yeah, because it's on Fox, right?
Sure is.
And
College Game Day.
Yeah, so both are going to be there.
And Barstool.
And Barstool. So do they do like a tailgate too or something?
Oh yeah.
They got the whole
Presidente
panel,
will be there.
What's that?
They got the whole panel set up. Yeah, El Presidente's there.
Yeah, he'll be there.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh man,
It's awesome.
that's pretty cool.
Sam's
We
going.
should set up ours. We should go set up.
Dude, everyone's going to be at College Game Day. They're going to be at.
Hey. Oh.
I bet there will be the least amount of people at Fox.
Really?
I think it'll be a ton of people at College Game Day.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess
and then Barstool's got that
the
odd,
fun,
crazy, fun following.
I've never watched a Barstool one. I didn't even know they did a tailgate.
It's really good.
Is it?
Who's on Fox right now?
It's Brady Quinn.
Yeah.
Reggie Bush, right?
Reggie Bush.
Reggie.
They
Matt
don't have Leinart.
But they don't have a Michigan guy.
No, they do not have a
College Game Day's got
Charles.
Yeah, Charles.
Desmond.
Or Des.
Desmond
I always get
Howard.
those two confused. My bad.
Charles is on
He's on Fox. No, he's on Fox.
Is he on Fox now?
Yeah.
Oh, with
is.
Greg Olson.
Yeah, he is on
So, I mean,
Fox.
telling you guys, yeah. I don't know. It might be a good spread.
Man, I'm.
Anyways,
it's pretty cool.
All eyes are on this game. It's so much fun.
All eyes are on the state of Michigan.
Yeah.
It is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Both 7-0. Like this
Sweet.
is. I don't even know if this has ever happened. Honestly, I didn't look it up. I'm sure there's a stat out there. It's probably happened in like the 90s or the 20s or something like that.
Yeah, there's a stat that's floating around about the last time both of them were ranked in the top 10.
It was like
for this
1964.
Yes, exactly, in the 60s.
Wow.
And I'm not sure if they
Lions
were both
have even
undefeated.
won a Super Bowl since then.
No.
Or not a Super Bowl, a championship.
No.
Because they won it in 67.
No, they didn't. 57.
57. Dang it.
You just destroyed his
If you need
dreams.
any historical facts about football, let me know.
What was 67? Oh, the Tigers won in 68.
It's called a
right?
callback.
My bad. I'm just having one of those days, all right?
It's all right.
All right. I didn't
all
want
good.
to talk about, so obviously it's
Let's do it.
significant nationally. It's a high-ranked game. Everybody's eyes are on this game. With the Penn State losing last week, the Ohio State game, like, man, I bet you ESPN is mad at themselves for not taking the Michigan State game when they could have.
Yeah.
But here we are. It's a noon kickoff. I'm not going to stress too much about it. But significance for the in-state, like, what do you guys think? Like, what does it mean for Michigan and Michigan State in the Big Ten, I guess? Like, where are you guys feeling heading into this? Because I got some thoughts on there that might not be very popular. But.
Yeah, I don't really know where to start because there's so many headlines. There's so many deciding factors with this, and I think more pressure is really on Michigan with this game. I think Michigan State, with the state of the program going into last year, just the complete mess that D'Antonio left that program, and then Mel Tucker has done an amazing job. Like, he's not going to lose any fans or from the administrative level. Nobody's going to question him going into this game if he loses. Nobody. Like, he has earned his right to have time. He's guaranteed himself time and respect.
Yep.
Harbaugh is on his last life. And yes, this has been an amazing start to this year. It's been exactly what he needed. But these are the games that people are sick of losing. They're sick of losing the rivalry games in state. They're sick of losing against Ohio State. Yeah. And they're sick of him not winning big games against big-time ranked opponents. All three are right now.
Yeah. I thought, I think that you said it perfectly, but like my thought for Michigan's sake, like what this actually means, what a win means, is absolutely nothing. What it means is, don't you dare lose this game. I know it's the same thing, winning and losing, but it's not about the win and putting this up on a pedestal. It's about not allowing another loss to erase what you've done with a 7-0 start. I think Harbaugh has dug himself in he's created his own critics by not winning the rivalry games. Hasn't beat Ohio State yet. Hasn't been to Indy. All of those things has caused him to be on the hot seat. He got a pay cut. All of those things they're real things. Half the people want him gone. Half the people want him to stay. You know what I mean? He's like, it's that situation, and he has put himself in there. And what this is for him is he's at the top right now. And he's going to push one way. He's going to tip down. Like the way I wrote it down, I'm going to try not to look at my sheet and lose my train of thought. But like if he loses this game, he's getting pushed down that spiral staircase, and he is going to fall and fall and fall all the way down to the bottom, because this is exactly what the haters need to fuel their argument, and this is exactly and really, even if they win, it's not going to answer any questions either. You know what I mean? It's just going to be, yeah, you did what you're supposed to do. This is exactly what you're supposed to do. Like,
don't allow yourself to do what you've done the last 5 years. Once mid-October hits, you get that one loss or that second loss, and the train starts going down the other side of the mountain, and it's going down real fast, and it ain't stopping.
I think to say that a win is not going to gain them anything, I think that's a little bit too much disrespect to Michigan State, because I think they are good enough and respected enough where a win will actually do a lot of benefit. It'll do Michigan a lot of good, and it'll give a lot of confidence to their players to say, look, we just went up against a legitimate opponent, like a really, really good opponent. So within the locker room, within even the administration, I think Michigan State is at a point where that would be a statement win in a way for Jim Harbaugh to say a top 10 opponent this late in the season, undefeated against a program that's just on, clicking on all cylinders like Michigan State has. I think it's a good enough win to add to his resume.
Yeah, I think right here, right now, yeah, he has that opportunity. But let's say it happens. Let's say Michigan wins this game, and the Michigan State ends up not being what they appear to be right now, which is very well a possibility. They could go out and lose to Penn State. They could go out and get destroyed by Ohio State, which I think we're both expecting get destroyed by Ohio State at this point. You could lose 2 or 3 more games, and all of a sudden that doesn't look as good. But if you lose, no matter what happens the rest of the season, I mean, yeah, if miracle happens and you beat Ohio State, that changes things. But I mean, is it really that great of a win, or is it a mirage? I think right here we're both these fan bases are feeling pretty good about themselves. Their chests are puffed out and feeling confident and ready to go. They could both get very humbled here in the next 4 weeks and get that chest poked back in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but every single one of them feels like the other team is really good. So
I know right here right now, but like the landscape, like Big Ten, it very well may mean absolutely nothing when all is said and done. And it's just going to be, the bragging rights that Michigan and Michigan State fans have each other for another year. You know what I mean? Like, that's where it feels really big, but it could get humbling very, very quickly. But and that's where I'm just like, go out and...
I disagree.
Yeah, same. I think at this point in the season, with all the teams that you've seen lose in the top 25 to all these unranked teams, there's a lot worse losses than what Michigan could suffer against Michigan State. And I think at this point, the talking heads across the country would, I think, mildly disagree with what you're saying.
Well, let me ask you, do you think there are only 4 teams that would beat Michigan this year? Do you think they're the best team in the country, or the 5th best team in the country? Probably not, right?
I think Michigan can compete against a lot of top teams.
Yeah.
Is it 6th? Sorry, 6th.
I think a lot of teams could beat Michigan, but again, and that's where you got to look at this, because I think your point is like, if Michigan State goes and loses to Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State, it's like, yeah, that doesn't become a very impressive win anymore. But why shouldn't it? Because those are 3 top-tier teams, complete top echelon type of teams, to then put on your resume and say, look, we're guaranteed a top 25 team. The only teams we lose to are elite. So that's not to say that would just be a trash season and take away from any one of these losses.
I'm not saying it's a trash season. I just mean like...
Yeah, no, that was too strong, yeah.
But like, I don't know. I feel like right here, right now, it feels massive. And 2-3 weeks from now, it could just be like, oh yeah. We beat unranked Michigan.
We both want to say the same thing.
We beat Michigan, who was unranked at the end of the season.
So that's a hill I'm going to die on. Is in the moment, it's as big as it is. Like in the moment when we were playing Washington, when we were hosting Washington for a night game, they were a top 20, top 25, whatever it was.
They were unranked because they lost 2 games prior.
Okay, sorry.
Right.
Going into the season. Okay. That's what made that game big. They still had talent. They were a highly talented. They are a highly talented team, they're maybe not well coached, maybe the execution lacks, and maybe that equates to not good season, not good opponent. But in the end, that's the hill I'm going to die on, is when you play that ranked team in that moment, that's what makes that game big. That's what projects your teams into that higher echelon of other teams. This isn't like when you look at the end of the season, you go, well, that's a bad win, that's a bad win, that's a good loss, and that's a good win. Like, it's in the moment, and that's the hill I'm dying on.
Well, that's such a good point.
But then
because
at the same time, is say Wisconsin goes on a nice roll and ends up in the top 15. So that was an unranked win then. So now is it all of a sudden a really good win, or was it an unranked win? Like, you gotta play both sides, right? So if that's going to be our argument at the end of the season with our bad loss or good losses,
I think
we got to have
that
same
argument at the end of the season. Then we can have that argument at the end of the season, but still, this is the opportunity that is presented right now. So we have an opportunity. We, meaning either side that you're on, Michigan State or Michigan, you have an opportunity to go beat a top 10 team that's rolling right now, and add something that you haven't had, and create all this confidence and buzz about your program, and add another big-time win. This is going to get somebody to 8 wins with no losses. 8 wins was definitely above the over-under mark for Michigan State.
Well, I think Michigan ended at 7.5. So
I think it did too.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is let's please not discount a big win against a Big Ten team, because as much, again, and this is where I try to stay grounded as much as possible with the state of the programs going into this year, because I'm happy with the wins that we can look at. Say Washington was not a good win. It was a big win. It was a really big win for Michigan to go to game number 3. And then game 3 was a big win to go to game number 4. So this is the stepping stone needed for each one of these programs to get to the next level. And for one of them, it will catapult them to the next level. The other one, it's an opportunity for them to fall flat on their face and go 8-4 for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's going to happen. Number one, but I also think that this is the momentum swing. This is the point of the game where we want Jared Goff to play well, and he throws the interception. This is where big players need to turn into legends at these programs. Yeah. And this is the opportunity that's in front of them.
I guess my point is, this is big, very big game. This is huge.
You jumped off that legend thing. I love it.
How they respond after coming off the big win and coming off the big loss, how they respond is what solidifies your program. Because if Michigan goes out and loses this game but wins out, then this game didn't mean nearly as much as we thought it was. If Michigan State goes out and wins and then loses 3 of the last 4 or whatever it is, then it's you know what I mean? Like, it is another stepping stone. And I feel like this is becoming a bubble of this is it. You know what I mean? And I love that. Don't get me wrong. I love that this feels so big. This feels awesome. This is a really cool feeling what we're getting into.
But it's game number 8.
But it's game number 8. And I don't want either team to pretend they won it all on Saturday 3:40 or whatever the game's going to end.
Yep.
Or I don't want the ceiling to, or like someone be like, well, you suck. You know what I mean?
I agree.
It's going to be in that
situation,
and you have a great opportunity to prove, when you go out and lose this game, prove us wrong that you don't suck. You go out and win this game, prove us that you deserve to be a true contender for the playoff. And that's where I'm kind of just wanting to make it a fuller conversation.
Whichever team loses, I want you to have that back against the wall feel, go out there and prove every critic, every hater, every fan wrong about your team and respond.
Yep.
You know what's great about this? Both programs right now with these players that are on the teams are getting a taste of big-time college football atmosphere.
Huge.
They have so much pressure on them right now. They're learning, like, with all eyes with College Game Day and Fox and everybody that we just talked about. This is something that, like, if they go into, let's just say next year, when a program okay, I'm just going to throw some scenarios. JJ's there. Everything's clicking on all cylinders. They go to a playoff. This is the type of atmosphere that brings. All eyes are on you. All expectations are on you. Go out and perform. This is how you learn how to handle those situations. It's games like this. So I am so interested to see how these guys respond. And either way, it's going to be a learning opportunity. Either they perform really well and they're like, great, I know how to do this. This is something that's familiar now. Or they respond really poorly and you say, these are all the things you need to do. Get your mind right. Prepare this way instead. Mm-hmm. And so, like, this is what an opportunity. I'm so pumped about the state of Michigan right now.
It's pretty cool.
With Mel Tucker in this program, I could not be happier with where this program's at. With Harbaugh, like, it's about freaking time. Now go prove it. And both programs are just, there's so much buzz, and I love it.
Yeah. Before we get into the matchups, does this feel like a must-win for Harbaugh in his future at Michigan? And obviously, I already talked about what happens next is what's actually important. But if you go out and go to 0-2 against a terrible program where it was, and Mel Tucker comes in and does what he did to you, like, that is fireable offense in a lot of people's mind. Now, I know there's the rest of the season to unfold, but that puts his back against the wall more than anything else, right? I don't want to say, is it a must-win? I'm not saying it's a must-win, but it's about as damn close as you can get.
I am saying yes.
Yeah?
Without question. This is, in my lifetime, this is the biggest Michigan State game I've ever known. Like, as a kid growing up, I didn't even know there was a Michigan State. Had no idea. Like, as a kid, as a Michigan fan, all I ever knew was, excuse me, the hatred was all about Notre Dame, Penn State, and Ohio State, and that was it. Had no idea until Mark D'Antonio showed up that Michigan State was someone to reckon with. Okay?
Yeah. Yep.
And right now, in my opinion, this is a must-win for Jim. This is quite possibly the biggest game of his college coaching career. I mean, at the peak of where he is, quite possibly on the hot seat.
With the stakes that are on the line.
Oh, the stakes are huge. They're so high.
Professionally, personally speaking for him, yeah.
So his college coaching career, this is his biggest game. This is a must-win against a second-year head coach, and a huge rival game. And you are both undefeated, and I don't have to mention it again.
Yeah. Ryan, what do you think? Must win?
No, I'm not going to go that far. I'm too, like, I try to be reasonable with these things. If they lose, they're losing to a great program. I think, yes, we want Harbaugh to win because we want him to prove that he's the right coach for this and he can pull it off and all that.
Yeah.
But you can't have both ways when you say that also how they respond is super important coming out of this game. Yeah. You can't say that that's also important if this is everything. So I'm going to say that
I agree.
This game, as important as it is, and I agree with everything, literally everything that you said, except that it's a must-win for his job. Yeah. And that's the way I'm thinking. It's a must-win for his job because I still expect him to lose to Ohio State, so I don't think this is in or out of the playoffs. And so this is a big win for a resume, maybe to keep his job. Maybe it's a big factor in the end. But you tell me at the beginning of the year that the Wolverines have 2 losses and it's against Michigan State and Ohio State. You're gonna take that every single time.
Yeah.
If you don't know who you lose to, you're gonna say, "Great, 2 losses. I'll take it." That'd be a great, successful year.
And I feel like that needs to be the mentality because Michigan, you're not Ohio State. You're not Alabama. You're not.
Put JJ in there, might be.
You know what I mean? But like that's I mean, it takes a long time to get that.
Okay.
That whole.
With everything I just said, the dynamic between the quarterbacks is one thing that the fans might turn on Jim Harbaugh for or with.
The fans are ready to push him down.
They're ready
stairs.
For JJ. They're ready for JJ specifically.
And
everybody sees it.
You think this final straw is the fact that he didn't pull the trigger on quarterback.
If they lose this game and he doesn't pull the trigger, and that's the reason for the loss. Let's just say he throws a couple of interceptions or something. He's not moving the ball, and he does not make that change. Now people are going to be mad and just wait for that to happen.
I think even if he makes the change and say they lose, it's going to be he didn't do it quick enough. He didn't give JJ the reps when he should have.
No, you're right.
You know what I mean?
But that would be normal sports talk. That would just be like talk,
Yeah.
if they go and lose this game and he doesn't react, if he doesn't pull the trigger when because everybody's watching these games as fans, they're all seeing the same thing.
Yeah.
We're seeing JJ in this really competent quarterback that makes plays versus a guy that struggles to throw the ball past 5 yards down the field.
Yeah, real quick, Mike, and then we'll get into some matchups.
Something that I like that you said is you mentioned something about how long it's taken for Jim to kind of get here if this is where we're going. Who else do you know of that has taken this much time to get there?
I don't think I think Jim has done enough. I think he's been close enough.
Okay.
Personally.
So what I'm getting at is Dabo. Dabo at Clemson took
year 6, I think, right?
And
here we are, basically year 6 with Michigan with the COVID year.
Right.
You use that as a wash.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying we're going to the national title.
Yeah.
We're not going to, go win the chip. But in the end, things take time. I mean, unless you're Nick Saban.
Look
which
at Dabo.
Would be freaking great.
Look at Dabo.
He got humbled pretty quick here.
He's done all of these with 2 quarterbacks, Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
Right.
So I do want to get into some matchups.
That's why it's important to get to JJ because
I want to get
need a quarterback.
into some key matchups. And if you guys are all right with that, I'm going to go with my first one here.
Do it.
I'm very interested to see how MSU's O-line stands up to Michigan's pass rush. I think MSU's O-line has been good in games that they win, but have also been exposed in the games that the offense has sputtered. I think they have been a big key for the positives and the negatives. Walker's going to get his, and Michigan needs to make Thorne beat them, which is a scary thought because I think he can.
Yeah,
but
he's
when
capable.
you put that pressure on him, that's when he has looked vulnerable and indecisive, not confident. And I think that is going to be the key, at least with slowing down, Michigan State's power. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, we know Michigan
big
State.
Playability.
Yeah, big playability, all that kind of stuff. If Michigan's front can be dominant, the way we've seen against some inferior opponents, limiting Thorne and the wide receivers time to get downfield, time to expose the questionable, untested, I think, Michigan secondary. They've looked good, untested. We haven't played a quarterback like this. We haven't played an offense like this. I'm interested to see that matchup, and it starts up front. And I know, cliche, right? It's all in the trenches.
Yep.
But this is that game, right?
Yep.
It is that game.
Yep. I love that you bring this up because Michigan's strength is their defensive line. They have been dominating every opponent they've gone against with their defensive line. You look at crazy stats like 29 dropbacks and 29 pressures against Wisconsin. Like, that's insane. That doesn't happen. And with Aiden Hutchinson, the way he's playing right now, with Ajabo coming on the other side, like these guys are attacking all the time. So the response from the Michigan State side and their offensive line, but not only them, but also from the quarterback position, they need to be able to respond accordingly because Michigan's going to get pressure. So how are they going to react to that? Is he going to be able to use Peyton Thorne? Is he going to use his athletic ability to get out of the pocket and move and get away from these guys to buy himself time? Because he does really well with time, and he does not. He has been really shaky, which has surprised me, but there's been 2 games where he's been very shaky in the pocket, and because that pressure has gotten to him. And Michigan, that is their strength against one of the question marks from this MSU team.
And I think Chris Hinton and Mozzie Smith are going to be brutally tested this week.
Yeah.
100%.
Is there another matchup that you guys are interested to look? So I have the kind of stats there, but what stands out to you? We've watched these games, so we don't really need to look at the numbers as much as, I mean, it's fun to and compare them, but we all know. We've all been keeping an eye on each other's opponents, right? We know what we're going into. What stands out to you, Micah?
Michigan secondary and Michigan State's wideouts.
Yeah.
You really think that's a big...
Huge.
I think that's almost equal.
Massive.
That's almost equal to what we just talked about with Michigan's defensive line.
I mean, it's highly athletic on both sides of both of those teams right there. You've got extremely athletic wideouts on Michigan State, and then on the opposing side, you have Daxton Hill, you have Brad Hawkins sitting there on the backside waiting for what they're going to do. This is going to be a huge matchup all game long. I don't think there is a bigger matchup, in my opinion.
Michigan has not seen routes like what Jaden Reed
Nope.
and Jalen Naylor can pull off. I don't think they can. They haven't seen that up until this point. So how they respond is very, very important here. And I will also say where Daxton Hill lines up against this offense, I'll be very curious to watch because the strength of these guys are on the outside, on the sidelines. And we haven't really seen Daxton Hill line up on the sidelines. He's taken the best wide receivers anywhere in the middle of the field, but he hasn't lined up too much on the outside. And that's for a reason, because we want him to blitz when he wants to blitz and play safety when he wants to play safety. But it's just something interesting to watch. Watch where Daxton Hill lines up. See where I don't even know how you. I don't know how you differentiate between Jalen Naylor and Jaden Reed, because they're both so explosive, so disciplined with their route running, and they can go win a ball as well.
I think the little bit of extra speed Naylor has downplays the speed that Reed has. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's really not that big of a difference.
No, it really isn't.
And in the way, Reed's size, like, people get all, like, he's more the prototypical. Well, Naylor's the exact same size. So, but, like, people get in their head, oh, Speedy Naylor is the fast guy. Well, Reed's not much slower.
Reed flies. He's their punt returner. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's a reason
touchdowns.
why you have two very good wide receivers right here. That's gonna be a very interesting matchup. That if it comes down to that, in my head, Michigan State has the X factor. Michigan State heading into this game, in my head, has that battle won, and that's where I kind of went with the defensive line, is not allowing the wide receivers to beat your corners, because it's all about time at that point.
You're right, and it's both of those. It's the combination of those, and the big playability could strike at any time. So it's not just one play at a time. It's not one play. It's every play.
Yeah,
that's the matchup.
Yep. And I feel like your face said you had a different matchup you were super interested in.
I do want to bring up another one, but Ryan, did you have another one that stood out, or do you stick with what we already talked about here?
Let me go through my head real quick.
All right,
it's got to be Michigan's offense. I mean, this running game against the Michigan State defensive line and linebackers. Who's the linebacker? I'm drawing a blank. The linebacker for Michigan State that's been Halliday, right? Halliday.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cal
Halliday is crushing.
He's
it right
coming
now.
into his own.
Oh, he is becoming dominant. Like he is becoming the name on that linebacker core, and he is going to play a major role to try to contain Haskins and Blake Corum. And there's a really good thing. I was listening to somebody just the other day where they mentioned the Corum and Haskins are so good at making people miss, and it's things that are just like. It's tiny little twitch moves with their hips. And Haskins, we talked about that for a long time. Blake Corum's the same way. He's not afraid of that contact. He'll get the arm tackle that he knows he runs right through. So tackling becomes even that much more important. And I think Cal Halliday is going to play a major role in this game because if they're relying on athleticism to get to the right spot, these running backs will still step around you and make you miss.
What I think Cal Halliday has done is allowed Xavier Henderson to be able to play a little bit more secondary safety position rather than coming up and needing him to stop the run,
being aggressive,
and needing him to be like always be part of the play. Cal Halliday's coming in and be like, look, I got this side of the field, I got this area, you can play your side, I'll play mine,
which is not good against Michigan's wide receivers, because if they don't respect those wide receivers because there's nothing to respect, that means that they're going to come in and pinch against these running backs in the middle of the field, and they're going to be able to play
the combination.
The way they're going to be able to respond against Michigan the way they need to.
One thing that I find very interesting is the way Cal Halliday and Xavier Henderson hit. They hit hard. And what I think Michigan running backs don't do a good job of, it hasn't really hurt them, is they put the ball out there a little bit more than it's very close to being fumbles. You know what I mean? Like, they haven't fumbled, and I don't want to predict something, but it's like it's always like kind of running outside of their own. You know what I mean? So keep an eye on that if one of these guys can get a lick on one of these running backs and force a turnover, that could be a massive game-changing play. Panashik as well.
Panashik's a big X factor in this. But I think the reason I wanted to bring Halliday up is because what has stood out so far with this year is how he diagnoses plays so early on. And he's in the backfield because he's making quick decisions and he's reading the play as it's developing and knowing the play, and he jumps on it early. So it's not all just physical ability. It's also the way he's reading the play. And if Michigan is still as predictable as they have been recently, that's not a good success story.
Yeah.
Let's not. If you're just going to do end arounds every single time A.J. Henning comes in, Halliday's going to be there, and Panishuk's going to be. They're both going to diagnose that early, and it's going to turn into a 6-yard loss. And I'm not looking for those kind of plays from the Michigan side to just derail a drive because of a silly, like, predictable play that the other team is prepped for all week. Like, that's not what I want.
Another thing that stands out to me is scoring first is a massive thing in this game, and it's not because I think if Michigan State can go out and score, let's say they go out and get a touchdown, first drive or second drive, and get a 7-0 lead, that is absolutely huge. Not because Michigan State needs to play with a lead, but because Michigan, I don't trust them to be able to come from behind yet. We haven't seen it. We haven't seen the explosive offense. We haven't seen the passing. And if you get any doubt of falling behind and make this team have a really important drive to go down and score fairly quickly, I don't trust it. It's going, and if they can make Michigan, like say you get a 10-0 lead, you go out, you get a touchdown and a field goal. That doesn't sound crazy, like a crazy lead or anything like that. That is huge against this Michigan team because that makes them play left-handed. They're not going to be running the ball. They're fighting the clock just as much as you. And I think that's going to be very important. I feel like if Michigan State can get an early lead, they can suffocate Michigan. They can make Michigan do stuff that they don't want to be doing and throw the game plan out the window way faster than they should. And I don't know. I think that is something to keep an eye on because, man, if Michigan State can get an early lead, let's say 10, 14 points, man, look out. There's tons of drives left. But Michigan will change their ways, and it's going to look ugly. And that allows Michigan State to also take more chances downfield and do what they do well. Instead of running out the clock, they can, boom, big plays after big play after big play.
Okay,
and that is very concerning as a Michigan fan here.
On the other side of the coin, if Michigan does happen to do that, stall out Michigan State's first couple of offensive drives,
yeah.
Like, where do you think that kind of leads to?
And that same thing. If Michigan can take an early lead, get the ball, score, and have that, let's say Michigan State gets the ball first, you force a punt, you have a nice long drive, you get a touchdown. You force another punt, and you get another score, 3 or 10 or 7 points. Michigan can start doing what works and start pushing this team around the way that they've pushed around other teams. And I'm not saying that that's because Michigan State isn't as good, but because they're in control now. They can, stick to what works and actually, bully them around. They can push. They can grind it out. And, I don't know, just be more aggressive at times and take more chances.
It's what they're familiar with.
Yeah.
And what your point earlier, if you put them in an unfamiliar situation where they're down in the game, then they have a new response that they have to decide, like, what kind of team they are. Do they respond or not? At this point, they're not used to that.
Yeah,
I think that's what both teams are looking to do on both sides of the ball come halftime.
Yeah.
They are going to be looking to make adjustments and the right adjustments and just bludgeon the other side.
I think whoever wins this toss takes the ball because I think both teams want to go down and take that early lead. I think that is very important for both of the mentalities of this team. And I know most of the time people play defense first and are saying, we want the ball at half. I think this is the type of game that you get the ball, you go down and score, and make something happen. And
what did you
that's
say?
how important I think the lead is in this game.
I would play defense because I think halftime.
If you were either team?
Either team, yeah. Because I think halftime is going to be so important with making adjustments, like what you just said. So getting the ball back in whatever situation, you're either going to stop the momentum of some other team at halftime or you're going to continue that momentum going into halftime, going into the third quarter. And, yeah, I don't know. I think that's the better way to go. I also think it's really interesting. We've been talking this whole time. We've barely mentioned Kenneth Walker Jr.
Isn't that crazy?
And I think it's because we all see the difference with this MSU team. I don't know if he's going to have these big runs, like the big long runs against Michigan that he's had against other teams. I'm not sure if he's going to do that. He might break one off. That's another, that's something obviously that helps this team if he can be dominant, then MSU is in a great spot because we keep talking about this wide receiver versus secondary thing and Peyton Thorne comfortable against a pass rush. But if they can dominate on the ground, that's something that Michigan, I think they're equipped to handle it. I really do with the linebacker crew.
Yeah.
How often do you think?
So is that
Michigan,
on Ross's shoulders then?
No, it's not. It's not just Ross. It's
sorry,
Hill.
Mike, I completely. I was just.
You're fine.
It's
good.
Hill Green. It's I don't know. I mean, I think the defensive line with Mozzie Smith and they're all important, and they've been playing great football. They really have come into their own. They have an identity at this point. So I think they can stop the run. I know they can get to the quarterback. But the big play ability of Kenneth Walker Jr. and his cutting ability to get outside of, to make a play when there's not a play is going to be something that, I don't know, man. It's obviously huge for State. I think it's actually critical for Michigan State. I think it's critical that he is dominant in this game for them to win, because you cannot only put it on Peyton Thorne's shoulders. That's not what he's equipped to do.
We've seen that it doesn't work.
It doesn't work, exactly. Yeah. He's not equipped to do that all on his own at this point, and maybe he'll grow into that kind of a quarterback, but their best player on their team is Kenneth Walker Jr. They need to get the ball in his hands.
Yeah. So come Sunday, game's over. We are a little hungover, I'm sure. Might be from fun, might be from drowning our sorrows. The reason Michigan State won is because
I still go back to Peyton Thorne. I think if Peyton Thorne can stay cool under pressure, react to Aiden Hutchinson and Ajabo coming off the edges, if he can move around and create time for himself and then destroy this secondary of Michigan, I think Michigan State, that's how they win this game.
Micah?
I can't disagree with you. I was going to say wideouts, but I do worry about our linebackers and Peyton Thorne's ability to run the ball when he needs to unexpectedly. And if there's a wide open field, the man has legs. He can gain a lot of yardage quickly. Runner. So I'm not going to disagree with Ryan.
All right, so I said MSU's big play offense was way too much for Michigan's defense. And their balance and playmakers exposed Michigan for they haven't faced any of these type of players. They haven't faced They haven't even faced one wide receiver as good as Naylor or Green. Or not? Sorry, is it Green? No, not Green.
No.
Why did I Reed? Sorry,
Reed. It's all good.
And they haven't played a running back like Kenneth Walker. That's your three, and they haven't even played a quarterback like Peyton Thorne.
Yeah, you're right.
So these are the four best players that they've played this year.
All the skill,
and that's where I think is going to be a huge issue. There's simply, they could take over the game through that, and it's going to be that. I think they're going to have an early lead that's going to control the clock, control what Michigan does well, and not let them do it. You know what I mean? Like they're going to make Cade McNamara beat them, and he simply can't. That's what I think the conversation is going to be if and when Michigan State wins. So, same question. Sunday, it's more of a celebration hangover. Michigan wins, and we're talking about why did they win. Micah, you go first.
Can I pass this off to Ryan for a sec?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Sorry.
All right, go for it.
Go for it.
Why does Michigan win this game?
I think the defense dominates. I think the offensive line of Michigan State struggles to contain Aiden, Ajabo, this team, Mozzie Smith. I think in the middle, Michigan is their absolute identity, their strength. I think they're going to bring a lot of pressure from the linebacker, from the safety positions, blitzing as well. And I don't think Michigan State in this scenario will pick that up. I don't think they respond. I think he's going to be under pressure in the backfield all day, and he's not going to respond very well. Peyton Thorne, that is.
Yep.
And he's going to face a defense that is unfamiliar for him. He's responded to two decent defenses up until this point and has not looked very good. And I think Michigan overwhelms him in this big game scenario.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I'm going to say, cliche, both offensive line, defensive line for Michigan will dominate and bully the crap out of Michigan State. I think heading into this season, we questioned Michigan State's offensive line. We questioned Look, Michigan State's defensive line, what are they, like 4th in the country in sacks? Something crazy. Like, they're doing a very, very good job.
Panashuk is like top of the nation right
It's-
now for
it's
everything.
insane.
Actually, Panashuk has the same numbers or similar,
Better numbers.
or if not better than
Aiden
Aiden Hutchinson.
Across the board.
But what I think we're going to see, if Michigan wins this game, it's going to be because they just absolutely manhandled it. They have more talent on both sides of the offensive line. They have more talent on the defensive line. If Michigan wins this game, it is going to be through that, and they're going to absolutely bully the crap out of these teams, or these lines. And I think Michigan will run the ball at will, and I think they will stop the run and just put so much pressure on Peyton Thorne that they don't know what to do. That's what I think will happen if and when Michigan wins this game. Go. You got? You just
no,
wanna,
I'm going to second you on that. I think you're going to see it. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be late. I'm going to say around the beginning of the fourth quarter, maybe 5 minutes in or so, you're going to start seeing Michigan's offensive line and their running backs start to take a small amount of control and head down the field and put a win together in the last few minutes.
The way I look at it is Wisconsin on both their offensive line and their defensive line, all in all, like on paper here, is better than Michigan State's defensive line and offensive line. And what did Michigan do to both of those? They bullied the crap out of them on their field in a pretty big game. A must-win for Wisconsin, really. You could look at that game as how important that game was. Michigan did it to Wisconsin. If they can do it to Wisconsin, they can do it to Michigan State. On paper, time will tell. Obviously, I don't want to we're saying both scenarios as if it happened. We're not that confident. Another thing I wanted to say, I think this is going to be a blowout, one way or another. I don't know which way.
Really?
Honestly, I think. The way I look at this is, I think.
I hope not. I'd love to see a good game.
If Michigan bullies them the way that it will happen here, it is going to be a massacre. If Michigan State's big playability and balanced offense is as good as we think it is,
could be nasty.
They can expose Michigan and make this game very ugly. I would be shocked if this game is not a double-digit win. I don't know which way. Honestly, obviously, I'm going to lean towards Michigan because I'm a Michigan fan.
No, but you're right.
Honestly, like what works for one team, like I just think it's going to be eye opening, if that makes sense. One team's going to get exposed.
Can I ask you, when you say double digit, how big double digit?
I think
are you talking 10 or are you talking like double that?
I'm saying 10 to 13. But it wasn't even that close.
Okay,
Type win,
all right.
To be honest.
Game control, double-digit win.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
That's the way I really think. And I know everybody's expecting this close game.
No, that's not a bad take, because if Michigan State wins, it's because of their big playability, and they go beat Michigan, and Michigan does not have the firepower to respond.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I could easily see that. That's 2 big plays in a game is the difference in that point. So I could see that happening from the Michigan State side. From the Michigan side, if you're really going to dominate this game from the defensive line, that means that this offense is going to be out of sorts and they're not going to be able to score. And in that case, you're running the game up with your running backs, and you can get it big. Yeah, I could see that. I don't think it's a bad thought. In fact, I actually really agree with it. The other positional group that I think there's a massive battle with is the defensive backs of Michigan with DJ Turner. For some reason, DJ Turner in my mind right now is like a huge, huge X factor. He's been getting more and more playing time as we've seen him. And if he can shut down one or actually just play like reasonable defense against these wide receivers, if he can make some good plays against Jalen Naylor, Jaden Reed, that really, really improves Michigan's chances on the outside there, because we keep talking about the big plays on the outside and then containing Kenneth Walker, long term throughout maybe just like 2 big plays. That's the difference with this team.
It's prediction time, boys. What is going to happen? What do you guys think is actually going to happen? And I don't want to score. Eventually I want to score, but I want you to tell me what you think is going to happen from kind of start to finish. Ryan, you ready to start?
From start to finish?
Well, I mean, you know what I mean. Just give me what you think
Yeah, I
is
can
going
tell
to
you.
happen.
Okay, so first play of the game is going to be a handoff to Haskins up the middle.
Okay, second play.
Second play will be AJ Henning end around to the left.
All right, so Michigan is
Far
going to
sideline.
win the coin toss and take the ball, right? No. All right, really.
I
though.
lost. Remember? No, I think what a
And
man.
obviously, we're going to get into our picks.
what a fun
we can
fun game to
give it
try
away
to break
early.
down because Michigan, I believe, is the better team. I really do. I think Michigan is the better team here, and I really believe that Michigan State has the better weapons.
Mhm.
And
Isn't that just bizarre to say?
and I just don't know which one's more important. I really just don't know because I really believe both like wholeheartedly. I think Michigan is super deep. They've got it. Their defense has turned it around. I don't really believe in Michigan State's defense, but I don't really believe in Michigan's offense.
Yeah.
It's like, but
And that's
yeah.
where it's just like something has to give, and
Yeah,
this game
something
is
does.
not going to be close.
Something's going to teach me like what's
Right?
important because I don't know what's important as a coach, but I'm going to learn something in this game.
This is
I will
crazy.
tell you the two thoughts that have been running through my mind the last 48 hours.
Perfect.
Okay. Michigan's down 13-3 going into the half. Second thought, Matt Coughlin, ninth-year senior, whatever
Yeah.
he is,
33rd.
Misses
year,
4
I
field
think.
goals.
no, comes up huge again. I don't know when, but he comes up huge.
So you think Michigan
I
is going to lose in a low-scoring game?
I don't know. I'll probably let you know in our picks section.
No, we're doing it now. What do you think is going to
Wait.
happen? What's your prediction for this game?
That Michigan State wins
Yeah.
in a close game.
I like that you said that because now I can go Michigan and I don't feel like there's
where
like an
it's all-
unbalance.
yeah.
Man, I actually really want to say Michigan State wins too, but I'm gonna say that the linemen in the trenches on both sides are going to be the difference in this game. I think Michigan has a better offensive line, and I think they have a better defensive line, and we're going to see how important that is in this type of a game.
So, do you think Michigan's defense line is better, or do you think Michigan's defense line is that much better than Michigan State's
I
offense?
think
Like, is it the matchup thing?
it's-
Like
I
Michigan's
think it's
defense
both.
line against the offensive line.
I think if you
compared to
take
the defense line,
if
against,
you're just if you're a non or an unbiased evaluator and you just say which offensive line compared between the two teams is better, you're going to take Michigan's offensive line. And then you take separately their defensive line and say which defensive line is better, you're going to take Michigan's defensive line. I really
Yeah,
truly
you would?
believe that. Yeah, without a doubt,
Yep.
actually.
I think Michigan State's defense line is underrated, but they also haven't gone up against anybody quite like Michigan's offense line.
I think Michigan State needs to learn how to tackle a little bit better.
Okay,
Halliday
and not rely on Halliday.
is an
and
amazing tackler. He really is. I think he's a stud linebacker. The rest of the linebackers have actually really disappointed me so far. They have a lot of arm tackles that people have been running through lately, and I think Michigan might expose that as they keep running
So
the ball
what do
more and more.
what do you think? Mike, you didn't give a score, but Ryan, do you have a score prediction?
I say Michigan wins by 9 or 10. One of the two.
Mike, how much does Michigan State win by?
Is it 1 or 3?
Give me give me 33-28.
33-28. That's a high-scoring game. All right.
Man, Peyton Thorne's good, though.
He is. But I agree with you that I think Michigan's lines are the key to this game. I really do. And it is nothing against what Michigan State has done. I just think Michigan is farther along. And rightfully so. They're supposed to be. And I think what Mel Tucker has brought in has been good enough for what they've gone against. But I think Michigan is at a different level. If they're not, look out, because they're supposed to be. And I think that's what we're going to see. I think Michigan is going to dominate in the trenches. Cliche, I know. As long as Michigan takes care of the football, the trenches will win them this game. But look out as soon as you get a turnover or two, could change, flip it. But I think Michigan wins this game. I'm going to say 28-14.
Ooh.
No field goals. Just 0 field goals.
Man.
It's like 2 of the best players on each one of the teams. I love it.
Was that good, Michigan? I thought we broke it down really
That was
good. I thought
fantastic.
that might have been the best segment of this history of the, other than our banana boat segments.
I loved it. I
had a really good time. That was fun.
I'm just
Banana boats of world-class kicking.
I think we're feeling just the energy of this week, and man,
man,
what a week!
I was feeling so like sluggish heading into this episode, and then as soon as we started talking Michigan State, I was just like, "Whoo yeah!" Like
Here we
this
go.
is
I'm
exactly
sweating my butt
what
off.
this is. Yeah.
Well, I'm wearing a sweatshirt.
I was when we were putting the kids down, I like put a shirt on, and Andrew's like, "Are you sweating?" I was like looking under my pit. I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "You better change your shirt before your friends come over." I was like, "Yeah, you're probably right."
I'm not gonna do that. And then you went and changed your shirt.
Yeah, I did.
We're just friends, not coworkers.
Yeah.